So what we'll try and do, I know we've got limited time. What we'll try and do is I'll give you a snapshot of all of the different use cases where AI is actually playing a role across the go-to-market lifecycle. Hope this clicker works. I'll take you through some popular use cases. Some broad level areas within the go-to-market lifecycle where AI is already playing a significant role. Some of you might have seen this. I think all of you who are startup founders, entrepreneurs, sales, marketing professionals, you must be using AI already in your everyday job. The thing is, all of you might be using it in a specific part of the go-to-market cycle. There is, from a prospecting perspective, so if you're a business development professional, and you're a sales professional, and you need to hunt for new leads, you need to prospect for new leads, you need to hunt for new customers, AI is already playing a role. I'll try to give you a demo, time permitting, towards the end of this presentation of some of these tools. There are multiple tools available. There is this hugely popular tool, some of you might have heard of this term, of this platform called as Clay AI, which is super popular. The other thing is, all of you, again, sales and business development professionals who leverage LinkedIn a lot for reaching out to a lot of your prospects. There is a lot of automation possibilities that come up. HeyReach, Bear Connect, these are some very popular tools, again, which are really picking up in the market, which help you automate a lot of the outreaches that you can do via LinkedIn. Performance marketing, again, has been using machine learning for a long time. It's been using machine learning for more than 6-7 years now. I'll take you through that when we go through the Healthify Me case study. But in the recent years, you've seen a huge growth of generative AI as well in a lot of performance marketing use cases. We look at a couple of case studies from a content creation perspective, which is again a very critical task for a lot of marketers, especially for marketers. There are multiple tools. Writesonic is probably one of my favorite tools. Quick disclaimer before we begin: a lot of these tools, it's a fast-shifting goalpost. A lot of these tools and a lot of these names keep changing because it's a fast-evolving landscape. Every time I make this presentation, I need to update these tools every other month. So as on the 19th of September 2025, these are some of my popular tools. The quick disclaimer applies. Before we begin, if you look at the big picture, there are 3 broad AI use cases which can be used across the go-to-market lifecycle. The first is, of course, generative AI, right, which manifests itself with content creation, be it written word content or imagery content or video content. The second use case where you see a lot of AI playing a role is in terms of your ability to augment the human decision-making process. So as a human being, as a business owner, as a marketer, as a sales professional, there are quite often times where you've got to apply human judgment. And you've got to make a call, right? Do I turn left? Do I turn right? Do I reach out to this person? Do I not reach out to this person? What is the actual business potential for this new market, which I'm actually looking to make an entry to? I want to launch my product in Vietnam, for example. What is the real business potential in Vietnam? Will it work for my product at this price band? There is human judgment involved. And that's where AI can come in, wherein can help augment your decision to make sure that the probability of success is maximized, which again is a combination of machine learning, which has been around for several years, and of course AI. Comes into play if you're ideating on a new campaign, if you're thinking about new market entry, if you're thinking about business planning, these use cases come in. The third one is in terms of automation, just plain simple automation of workflows. That's the third broad use case where AI is playing a significant role. This again manifests itself in multiple different places: data enrichment, prospecting, especially in the prospecting space. I know I've mentioned the term data enrichment a lot. Data enrichment essentially means, let's say that you know who I am, you know my name, Vedanarayanan, Vedantham. I have a pretty long name, as you can see, but you don't know my email address, you don't know my phone number, you don't know my LinkedIn profile details, you don't know which company I work for, you don't know my designation, right? Can you get all of this information by enriching my profile information? That's what data enrichment is about. There are some tools that help you do that, which a lot of business development folks would find it handy, in alignment, in compliance with the local rules and regulations, of course. So let's start off by going through a few case study discussions. I'll take you through Healthify Me first. How many of you here have heard of Healthify Me? That's great to know. How many of you are paying customers of Healthify Me? You see, that's the marketing funnel right there. We had like 60 hands go up who are free users of Healthify Me. We had like 3 hands come up which are like paid customers of Healthify Me. Just for the benefit of those who did not raise their hands, Healthify Me happens to be today India's largest health and fitness mobile application. I used to head marketing for them a few years ago. It has over 25 million plus users. It has a freemium business model, Freemium is a combination of two words, premium, free plus premium, which means there are certain services that are free, certain services that are premium or paid for. The free services involve the world's largest database of Indian foods that are accurately mapped to calorie counts, vitamins, minerals, carbs, etc. So if I've had a Jowar Bakri thali, for example, right, which is a very popular North Karnataka cuisine, or if I've had a Gujarati thali, I've had a Bengali thali, I've had a Kashmiri thali, the app will be able to recognize each of the different ingredients on my plate through image recognition, or I can enter it manually and be able to tell me how many vitamins, proteins, carbs I've consumed, how many calories I've consumed. I've done a set of Surya Namaskars. It'll tell me how many calories I've burnt. It's like a daily diary for calorie counting, makes me a lot more mindful of my eating habits, workout patterns, etc. That's very simple. That's just the plain free service. The paid for service involves creating a series of bespoke nutrition, fitness, and yoga plans as per the health goals of the user. Some people want to lose weight, some people want to gain muscle. A lot of young men would come to us just before Valentine's Day and say they want a six-pack ab. Depending on whatever are the health goals of each individual user, designing those plans. To begin with, we'll design these plans using human nutritionists, human fitness coaches, human yoga coaches. Over time, we also launched an AI-backed plan as well, which I will talk about in the next few minutes. The biggest problem statement that we had to counter, and I'll talk about how AI played a role from a marketing perspective in helping us acquire customers, was inertia. Because this is operating in the space of proactive health tech. The person is not actually sick, right? They want to make sure they don't fall sick in future. Unlike, say, a practo, where a person is already sick, they want to find a doctor. In this case, they don't want to fall sick in future. So how do you get people to take action and overcome inertia? And how do you get them to hand over what is probably the most important part of their overall life, which is their own personal health, to the hands of a mobile app, right? That's a big thing. How do you get them to cross that trust divide? And we went about doing this in a, interesting, I'm not sure if the video is playing. Let's see if it plays. I think the video is missing. So we went about doing this in an interesting way, which was a polar opposite to how CultFit, a lot of you would have heard of CultFit, right? How CultFit went about communicating what as a brand it had to offer. It used people like this really good-looking Greek god as their brand ambassador, right? They had very good-looking models, Hrithik Roshan, Milind Soman, all of these people were their brand ambassadors. It had a very youthful, buzz-building kind of a vibe, right? And it was very fitness-led. Whereas at Healthify, all of the marketing communication that we used were very authentic first-party narratives by people like you and me, which were testimonials given by regular people about the authentic life transformations that they had actually seen by actually using the product. And that was a very conscious call that we had taken, because through our keyword research, we had noticed and found that weight loss solutions is what people were actually searching for, right? They were actually looking for healthy nutrition solutions, healthy diet solutions, which can help them actually lose weight. So in a lot of our marketing communication, we let our customers do the talking. It was very nutrition-led. And the other thing is, we did not shy away from using the dreaded W word in a lot of marketing communication, which is weight loss. There was this huge debate internally as to whether we should talk about weight loss. Will it cheapen the brand? Or should we actually go out and talk about it? We actually ended up talking about weight loss because that is exactly where customers were searching for when we looked at keyword search data. From a mobile marketing customer acquisition perspective, given the fact that this is a category which is extremely high on personal connect, because it's about something which is very close to the personal identity of an individual. I'm enabling somebody to discover healthier and fitter versions of themselves. The nature of this category is such that I have the ability to strike a very strong emotional bond with my prospective customer. And for this reason, video-led, high empathy, testimonial communication worked really well. And obviously, Facebook and Instagram were our primary acquisition channels. We went through, at any given point in time, we had multiple Facebook campaigns running concurrently. It was personalized at scale. So depending on who was the prospect that I was reaching out to, if I was reaching out to a middle-aged man suffering from hypertension, right? The creative again would feature somebody from his demographic set, would again feature an older person. As opposed to if I'm reaching out to a younger woman who's looking for strength and flexibility, right? The creative again would mirror somebody who's from her own demographic bucket. It was personalized at scale depending on who was the person who was actually seeing the ad. And I had a big culture shock, by the way, when I first joined Healthify, because in all of my previous experiences as a marketer, it was always Google search which was the #1 ROI driver. It used to drive Dhanda. Facebook was always more of a glorified brand channel with very limited ROI attribution possibilities. Whereas here, the roles were in reverse. It was Facebook, which was the #1 ROI driver for the reasons I mentioned earlier. A category which naturally gravitate towards establishing very strong emotional bond with your prospective customers. It naturally opens up to the possibilities of a visual form of communication. You can have these high empathy, video, testimonial communications, etc. But we went through a very interesting journey with Google, which is where a lot of AI and ML started coming in from our customer acquisition patterns. Google, a few years ago, launched something called as UAC campaigns, which is Universal App Campaigns. Some of you might have heard about it. It was one of the earliest attempts made some 6-7 years ago to use machine learning and AI in actually customer acquisition and in digital marketing. When it was first launched, people hated it because you essentially had to give up control. You had to essentially say in Google, Baba, we trust. You had to give Google your creative assets, your apps listing on the Play Store, on the iTunes Store, and Google would decide whom to run the ad to, when and where. As a marketer, you had no control. So you had to give up a lot of control, so everybody hated this. When we first launched or started using UAC campaigns again, the results were pretty underwhelming. They were pretty poor. But what we did was we persisted with it, and we implemented something called as the Google Pixel. All of the techies in the room obviously would understand this. It's a small piece of JavaScript code, which you can implement in your website or your app's front-end code, which executes or runs every single time your page renders and passes information back. Think of it as a spy or a mole sitting within your own application, which passes information back to its masters, which in this case is Google, completely anonymized and aggregated without sharing any PII. No personally identifiable information is shared. That's the big caveat there. So let's understand this with a simple example. Let's say I sign up on the Health of Family application. I complete my registration process. I've just completed a very important upstream lifecycle event in my lifecycle of engagement with Health of Family. I capture this information via the Google Pixel, send it to Google. Completely anonymized, aggregated. No, my name, email address, phone number is not shared, right? It's only aggregate information. My digital profile, psychographic profile, I like to call it my digital Jatakam or digital Janam Kundali. That essentially shared with Google. Google essentially tells Google that I'm a cricket fan, I like politics, I'm a big fan of RCB, right? It probably sends this information. I continue to consume content on the app. I maybe pick up a 7-day free trial, a midstream lifecycle event. This is again passed back. Eventually, I buy a 6-month plan for 10,000 bucks. Now, what Health Family says is, listen, I like this guy Veda. He represents a profile of a potentially good customer of mine. Go find me 100 more clones like him. So Google's machine learning algorithm tries to do this reverse engineering and tries to find more of these digital clones of mine who have the same digital Janam Kundali that I have, right? And obviously there is a catch to it. There is no free lunch. The ability and the accuracy of these AI engines to work well, they happen only at scale. So when we were passing in information of one Veda and asking it to find the next 100, the algorithm sucked. And it wasn't able to get accurate clones of the Veda that I actually wanted. It was sending me irrelevant audiences to a certain extent. But we persisted with it. And we fed it more and more information. And as we fed it information of 1,000 Vedas, who are my customers, and asked it to find the next 100,000, it was able to do a more accurate job. Again, just to clarify again, none of the personally identifiable information was shared. It was just the digital profile which was shared. And this is what I like to call, and what we actually shared was the digital Janam Kundali, like I said. And this is what I like to call AI-driven, ML-driven, inside-out targeting from a marketing perspective, from a go-to-market perspective, which is the new way in which, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a marketing professional, you can run your targeted marketing efforts. The traditional form of targeting in marketing is more outside in, wherein you decide who your ICP is, your ideal customer persona is, through some research that you might have done separately, and you run campaigns towards that source of truth. In this case, you're letting data and you're letting user behavior within your own application either validate or in some cases challenge your hypothesis on who your ICP is. For example, at Healthify.me, when we started off, we thought, like everybody else, that the millennial was the ideal customer for us. Young people like you, right? Like a lot of people I see here. Turns out they were not the ideal customer, because the young folks like you, they would often come onto the app and use the app for free without paying for any services. They would rather subscribe for a gym next door, but they wouldn't pay for any of the services on the app. It was only older people from my age group who would actually sign up to become premium customers. Because the older people were less fit, less healthy in general. They were more prone to lifestyle conditions like a hypertension or a diabetes. And more importantly, they had a greater ability to pay. These were the key reasons. So we had to actually revise our original ideal customer persona hypothesis that we had when we started the startup. Originally, we thought it was younger people. We had to revise it to say that it is actually older people that we need. Now, if you go back to the creatives, the brand creatives that I showed you at the beginning of a few slides earlier, all of the creatives did not have a very youthful vibe. Generally, in any diverse crowd, if I play both the creatives and I ask them who likes what, the younger people usually raise their hand and say they like the cult ad. The older people generally say, I'm able to relate better with the health family communication, and that's fine with us because all of our creatives, we wanted it to specifically resonate with our ICP, which is the older cohort of customers. If the youngsters don't like it, too bad. That's okay, because they're not making too much money from them anyway. Right? But we did come out with a solution for that as well, and I'll talk about that in the next few slides. This was one other thing that we did, and after which I'll probably jump over to the demos in the interest of time. We had this problem for the younger cohort of customers, like I said, right? There were two problem statements that the business was faced with. One is, with the youngsters out there, I wasn't making any money. The youngsters would use the app for free, count their calories and leave. They would not buy anything from me, which was a challenge. As a business, we had to solve for it. Second, there was a scalability problem. As I was continuing to grow, as I was continuing to acquire more and more customers, I needed to hire more and more human nutritionists, human fitness coaches, human yoga coaches to service these customers, which was not scalable, right? So we had to solve both of these problems. So what we did was we launched something called as the completely AI-driven smart plan. We launched an AI-backed chat nutritionist. We called her Rhea. We gave her a personality, just like a Siri or a Cortana. And she would give reactive and proactive recommendations to you. She's like your assistant who's sitting within you, embedded within the app, who can give you these recommendations. If, let's say you've not had water since morning, she'll give you a timely reminder. You go to let's say a Punjabi wedding, and there is a lot of food, rich foods laid out in front of you, or a Bengali wedding, sir, and there is a lot of rich foods laid out in front of you, and let's say you're looking to cut down. You can actually take a picture of all of the foods in front of you, and Rhea will tell you which of the foods you can eat, which of the foods you can stay away from, personalized as per your health goals. Now, we had trained Rhea on the billions of food logs that we already had in the system. And the thing with Rhea is she doesn't take a salary, right? So earlier, the starting price point for a human-backed plan, which we were offering, was $7,000 for a 3-month, 6-month plan. Now we were able to offer plans starting at 300 rupees a month, which was the AI-driven smart plan, and I was able to monetize the younger cohort of customers. Now, I would have been really dumb and stupid if I had offered Rhea to my older cohort of customers. If, let's say, sir is already on a 7,000 rupee plan, if I were to offer him a 300 rupee smart plan and he downgrades, I'm cannibalizing my own revenue, right? So what I would specially do is I would offer this to the younger cohort of customers, target this specifically for the younger cohort of customers, this AI-driven plan, so that I'm able to make incremental revenues. I'm anyway making zero from them. That's another example of how we used AI in Rhea to be able to improve conversions and scalability of the business. Hope this works. Yeah, so what I want to quickly do, I think we're down to the last couple of minutes. I want to take you through a couple of different platforms. I want to give you a sense. Hopefully the internet works. The first is this platform called HeyReach. Hope you're able to see my screen. This is, like I said, there are multiple use cases for which you can use AI for across the go-to-market lifecycle. This is a tool which is of a lot of use for business development professionals in particular. So those of you who are BD professionals, sales professionals, you can appreciate this. You do a lot of your prospecting on LinkedIn, wherein you do a lot of hunting to find out the right decision maker. This is a tool that can really help you automate a lot of the LinkedIn outreaches. Let's say that you want to reach and network with chief business officers of companies having employee size more than, say, 1,000. Let's say, I'm just putting it out as a hypothetical problem statement. You can run this query on LinkedIn, paste that particular search link here within this platform, and it'll give you a bunch of profiles, and you can automate and set up. So for example, if I go into this workflow, you can set up automated messages saying that I want to view the profile, 3 hours later, I want to send a connection request. Once it is accepted, I want to send an initial message. Here I've ended the workflow because I wanted to send a manual intervention. I can have a message here which is customized, dynamic message, which is sent to every single person. So this happens in an automated fashion. This is an example. Another tool which is very popular is Clay AI. which I said, which you can use for multiple things. One of the things you can use it most for is finding people. You can give in certain specific attributes of companies, employee size, location. Let's say I want to reach out to chief business officers of all companies. I want to figure out LinkedIn profiles of chief business officers of all companies in India who have employee size more than, say, 10,000 people. I can define those attributes here, and I'll get those pieces of information. I won't get PII, email, phone number, etc., but I'll get some of these bits of information. Sonic is another really cool tool which helps you create content. So in this case, I'm trying to create content around a topic which is, say, online payments. So I've entered the topic already. I selected my references. It'll actually suggest some references. In this case, I want to create a blog article, 5,000 words long, for me to rank on search engine optimization for the keyword online payments. It's given me some references. It's saying that Stripe is a great reference. I've chosen Stripe. I did not enter this. The GenAI algorithm sitting underneath proposed this. I can have a bunch of titles, etc., and I can then ask it to generate the article, and it'll go ahead and generate this for me. A lot of people have this question as to whether this is plagiarism. Right? Will I get penalized if I take this information as it is from Google? The short answer to that is no. But the long answer to that is it is nuanced. You will not get penalized for plagiarism because this is generative AI. This is net new content generated for the first time in human history. Let's say you don't like this content. You ask the LLM to regenerate it. It'll go ahead and regenerate it for you again. Again, something which is fresh. Just like you are having an analyst in your team, he or she would probably reference 5 different sources and create their own version of it. They wouldn't do a Control-C, Control-V, ideally, if you've done hiring right. This works in the exact same way. Instead of 5 articles, it'll probably look at 500 or 5,000 articles. That's the only difference. And it generates its own interpretation of that particular subject matter that you're looking, asking it to create content on. Having said that, I would not recommend you taking the content as is and pasting it into your blog. You do need to apply a certain level of human judgment, and you do need to filter that before you start using that piece of content for your business. A lot of these LLMs, you've got to think of it as the smartest person that you know, like an Einstein or a Bill Gates or a Sam Altman, but they know nothing about you or your business. Right? So you need to give it enough of a context for it to be able to bring in that business nuance, or you need to apply that judgment and spend some manual effort in editing the output of the AI algorithm. That was a quick snapshot into all of the different phases of the go-to-market lifecycle where AI is playing a role. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Love to take any questions that you might have.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Veda Vedantham. Could we please give him a huge round of applause? I think in the interest of time, we'll take just one question, and Veda will be here. And if you have any more pertaining questions, we could connect with him after that.
Hi, I'm Aditya.
Hi.
So the main important question that I have is, we are talking about GTMs, but how much of authentic thought process of ours should we have in the entire GTM process instead of importing it from,
No, I think it's absolutely essential, especially now, because I think what AI has done is it's taken away a lot of the. There are 2 areas where AI is playing a significant role. One is it's removed all those jobs within the go-to-market lifecycle which involve a lot of human grunt work, which is repetitive work, which is mind-numbing work. Like, for example, ad operations. Like, for example, the grunt work behind creating a first draft of content. Some of those jobs have been outsourced to AI. But what is now super critical, like I mentioned earlier, sir, is the AI algorithms are like the smartest people you know, but they know nothing about you or your business, your dhanda, your startup. So your ability to bring in that nuance is now super critical. So which is why I would never, for example, use the AI output verbatim as is. You need to apply that business nuance. You need to bring in that judgment which only you can bring. The AI algorithm will not be able to bring in. So the short answer to your question is, absolutely is essential. The ability of the human being who understands the business deeply and well to be able to complement the AI engine is super critical. I think there was one more question. I'm not sure if you have the time.
I don't think we have the time, sure. Veda, but you can connect with him once you're here. And so I request you to connect with Veda Vedantham. Anyone else who wants to have a one-on-one with him, now is your time. Please utilize this time to connect with him. Get your questions and queries answered. Ladies and gentlemen, Veda Vedantham, could we please give him a huge round of applause? And with that, thank you so much, Veda. Thanks for your time.